Hi everyone, and welcome to Apprenticeships Unfiltered. Today I'm joined by a fantastic panel that includes apprentices, students, employer and even a parent. What we're going to do is talk about the challenges with apprenticeships and a real honest conversation about applications and what it's like to be an apprentice. I'm going to introduce the panel. Alfie, starting with you.
I'm Alfie, I'm a student at Sir William Robertson Academy.
I'm Jamie, I run Iconic Engineering based in Grantham.
I'm Nina, a manufacturing apprentice at Bakkavor.
I'm Anna, I'm Nina's mum.
So Nina, the apprenticeship that you're on, is what level are you doing?
Level 4.
Level 4, and is there opportunity to go on to that degree level?
Yes, definitely. So I've currently actually applied for the graduate programme as it is a natural progression from my apprenticeship, and it would lead me into more of the management role that the apprenticeship is kind of designed to lead to.
Does that make you reconsider the way that you're looking at apprenticeships you're looking at law? Yeah. So would it make you look at a degree apprenticeship in law? Would it make you reconsider looking at the lower level apprenticeship to then go on to a degree?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an option because they're so competitive that you've got to sort of look at every option you have and then enter at a lower level just to get in the door, and then you can progress because it's about selling yourself.
Just one thing to add to that is you guys are at the start of your journey, and that pathway is over many years, and this is one thing you probably don't really pay a lot of attention to at the moment, is keep an eye on the politics of the country that's going on at the moment, because they've already started making changes to what level of apprenticeships they're going to continue with moving forward. So I think now we don't do the level 7 if that was a goal that you wanted to achieve. That might not be possible now. You know, watch the news and see what's going on and do research. Just don't assume that there's a way to get, so be informed, basically. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's pick up on something you said about the competitiveness. How competitive did you find it, Nina?
Well, actually, when I was in sixth form, there was another girl who was applying for the apprenticeship. So it was definitely like slight competitiveness that you want to try and get more involved in the business and show your interest and how you're more passionate to be involved. And when I went for assessment centre, it was a mix of different people, and we had to do a paper tower, and you're working alongside other people who want the same apprenticeship as you. So it's you trying to show that you have a bit more skill than them, I suppose.
We've talked about that before, with when people come at that kind of application stage, and it's not all. I wouldn't say it's the school's fault, but I think a lot of people in that period, GCSE onwards, sixth form, that's so focused on, getting the scheme in place with it, but whether it be university or apprenticeships, they kind of forget the bit in the middle that will get them that thing in the first place. And we have a lot of students interview for things like T-level courses or just general work experience. And when we take students on for work experience, we want them to kind of treat it as though it's a job application, because it's good practice, basically. You can easily see the ones that put the effort in. And it's not a case of blaming any one person or any one thing. I think it's just a general kind of, we just don't do a good enough job of it, informing people of how the right way about going to a place of employment, how to present yourself, how to talk to people, what you're going to expect to be pushed back on you when you're having a conversation. There's a definite sort of disparity in certain students being excellent at it and probably the majority of them then not being very good at it, and it needs to be a bit more balanced. So yeah, not sure really how to tackle that one, but it is a definite thing. So.
Alfie, I think that you would agree with that from a conversation we had earlier, that about if you want to just talk about how we spoke about AI for CVs and what is expected on CVs. What are your thoughts on that?
I try not to use AI as much on documents like that, but it definitely is a tool for structuring. It's a tool for getting the information in. But I mean, at least for me, I find a personal touch tends to be a better sort of output.
Yeah, I mean, if I use a very basic example at a very low level, so we'll get GCSE level students wanting to come and do work experience. And I'll say, do me a little CV. I'm not expecting a lot because obviously you're still at school, you're not have a career or anything to write about. But write me a CV and tell me about you. And you just get these generic templates, be it AI generated or just ones that the school give them, and they're very we've had CVs that are literally word for word the same, just with a different name and address at the top. And what I've tried to tell people over time is, and as an example, gaming is a popular thing these days, for example. And when it comes to like hobbies and interests, people go, I do gaming or I play football. And that's literally it. That's all you get is like 2 sentences, barely a sentence. And I'm like, okay, think a little bit outside the box. Try and think of those things that you do and try and think about what skills you use doing those tasks that an employer might find valuable. And I think the gaming one's a really interesting one, because I can guarantee if any of you are gamers, you'll sit there for hours doing that one thing over and over and over again, all the time, trying to improve upon the last attempt. So if you can pull out those qualities, so you've got attention to detail, you can focus on a task, you can start pulling out qualities from those things you think are just like nothing, and actually create a list of things in a CV that an employer would look at and go, oh yeah, that's interesting, and you can apply that to all of it. Sports is another one. Like just saying I play football or whatever it might be. It's like, great. It's a bit of a throwaway comment, but so, elaborate on that. When I play football, it's that determination thing again. I like to win. I like to, be better. I like to improve, so list those qualities. But I find a lot of them don't identify that, and they've not, it's almost like they've not got the ability to think that way.
You wanted them to be more authentic and their real selves.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to say your hobbies are playing football or gaming. A lot of the time they think, I don't want someone to know that I'm sat.
But it's the fact that they will put that on, but it's a wasted opportunity to not then drill down into it, maybe because they don't realise that they have these skills in the first place, and that it is a skill that an employer would find valuable. And I sometimes quite often send them away again with a bit of a, list of things to look at. And unfortunately, what I find is a lot of them then never return. They just think, well, that's too much work, I won't bother. But then a few do come back with a revised kind of approach, and it's amazing. It's really good. And they actually, it clicks then.
Does that resonate with you, Alfie? When you're thinking about your CV now, are you including things that are your hobbies and then tying that to?
Yeah, I try and include some hobbies, but I tend to steer away from gaming and such like that, because it can almost be a double-edged sword.
It can be.
You know what I mean?
Because people tend to just put gaming, and then the impression is it's like you just sit on your backside, not doing anything.
Wasting time.
Yeah, but you can turn that into a positive by the way I've just described, and you can use that, even if, you like watching Bake Off and you do baking. Again, weights and measures, being precise, trying new things. You can use that hobby and dissect it into a lot of separate little skill sets and list those on your CV, and then all of a sudden the employer's like, they'd be good in our inspection department, or they'd be good doing this, So a lot of people don't realise they've got quite a nice portfolio of skills, but they just don't realise they have them. That's one thing I'd get as a takeaway from when I have applicants come through the door.
Would you say that when you were applying, Nina, when you looking at roles that you did?
We actually did not have to create a CV for the application. But definitely, as you're saying, when you're having skills that you just enjoy, general things, it's definitely important to pick out. So when they asked the example for problem solving, I talked about when I was cooking and I wasn't able to cook something in this certain way, so I adapted my methods to try a different alternative, and it shows that I'm problem solving and finding new methods and adapting.
Okay, so you need to be thinking about that kind of stuff when you're applying. Just touching on something that you said, you can see all the pros of the apprenticeships, but not the cons. Is there any?
I get my money, I'm getting my education, I'm working and always developing. I'm going through 2 different sites and working on different machines as well. So it's just continuous exposure. There's generally nothing I could say negative. Maybe that you have to put in a bit of extra time in your own time for study, but that is just normal sacrifices. Yeah.
And that was going to be my next question, actually, is how do you balance that working full-time and the study? Because at the moment you're just in study and it's nice and simple, I'd say, but it's probably not. So how is that?
Well, my company actually allocates 6 hours a week for study, but also I do like that academic side, so I still put in my own time to just do a little bit, because it adds up. And the tutors we are having during the assignments and modules, they are always supportive, and we are able to ask for help. So for me, I find it very manageable to do work and academic.
That's good. That's really good.
I'll just add something to that. I think the only real time I ever hear people talk about negatives is just when the match between the student and the employer is not right. Some employers do have a perception that, and it's probably a bit of entitlement on both parties in that the employer may treat the apprentice as, you are cheap labour, but we are giving you an education, so that's kind of the contract. Companies on my own, I kind of, because I had such a good apprenticeship and learning experience, I kind of feel cheeky not giving back a bit as well. So you'll find employers that are a bit more like me and happy to give their time, doing things like this. So the only time I ever really see negatives or people kind of saying they don't enjoy the situation is when the two parties aren't kind of clear with each other. I would say majority-wise, the people that I find on apprenticeships say they love them. I had a lad who was doing a manufacturing apprenticeship, and he'd got all the skills to do it, but actually what he really wanted to do is work on cars. But the skill sets are very similar. It's all very hands-on. It's all sort of using tools and machinery and stuff like that. So he had the right skills to do both, but I think he was just a little bit confused in his mind where he wanted to use those skills. So he gave it a year with us, and actually he was like, it's not really clicking for me. So we actually helped him find another one in Lincoln working in a car dealership, and said, look, this guy's really good. He's just not enjoying the manufacturing bit. And he went and moved over to do the automotive side. It's flying now.
I think we'll make a close there. Thank you so much for your stories and insights.